Hello crafters, thank you so much for stopping by and visiting my channel. This is Martha and I'm here to show you this really cute page that I put together while I was at the Scrap Shack retreat. And I kind of finished it and put more flowers in here and pictures a little more permanently. Even did some little names on here. So let me show you real quick how I put this together. This is a heart. My heart is 12 by 12, but it is going to stick out of my scrapbook by about an inch. So if you don't like doing that, I thought we could convert that to making it a smaller heart in the middle. So let's take a look at that. So I have 4x6 pictures that I printed off of my Canon selfie. And then on the inside, I have 3 more here. I kind of cropped around a little bit. On the other side, these are kind of big. And then I have more on this side. So you can see I kind of stuffed 4 more pictures underneath this heart. 3 pictures on this side. I have the dies that go with the scrapbook crop from last May. This is the intricate lace one. I use this pink paper. It's 1. And then this die right here is one of the original dies that goes in here. That's my background for catching all of my flowers. Okay, and then here on the edge is the pinking shears that are from Fiskars, and I use the zigzag one. So these little zigzag scissors I used on the ruffle. 12 by 12 paper. On the background here is another one. This is the Salon Nouveau paper line. Right here is in pink. You need 2 of those for the base. Okay, and here is the page we're gonna do today. I made the heart here a little bit smaller so that it doesn't stick out of your 12 by 12 book or your page protector. Mats here, I don't have them down with permanent tape. I use painter's tape to put them down, but let me show you. I just barely cut the trim out of this, and it's super easy to do when you have these dies. You kind of just run it through and flip over that double-sided paper. Okay, this in here until I get a picture to put on it. I kind of leave it behind like that. Okay, put little flowers on here. I am still using my pack of flowers from the Carte Noire. So all of these flowers came in that little container. Okay, so it's time now to move on to the next step, which is super fun, which is this fabulous little heart that we do right here in the middle. So let's get that part done, and I'm going to teach you how to do it so that you have a technique that you can use for other page layouts. First you need to do is get a paper, 12-inch paper. It could be text weight, it can be cardstock. This is so that you have the pattern in your arsenal so that you can use it for future events or future scrapbooks, okay? So 1 paper. I used to like to use pencil, score tool, scissors, and rulers. And I will show you how I use my little die for this, but let's go from there. So this is what we're gonna do right here. This is the layout. This is my template and how I use it. So let's go from this. We're gonna copy it and do it together so that we know what we are doing. First of all, I am always using a piece of painter's tape to know what is the top of my paper. You know, once we spin it, sometimes I get lost. So, okay, first step, end to edge. And we are going to fold this like a taco, corners to corners, opposite corners, bringing it down. It's an ugly fold, but the scoreboard is not long enough. So you kind of make it pretty once you already bring it down. Okay. Then I pick one spot that is going to be the top for me, and this is just so that I know what is the top portion, what is not when we're moving things around. Okay, now, so this is the top of my heart. Okay, and this is the bottom. So I want my heart to be as wide as possible so I can put lots of pictures in it. So when I fold this over like a little taco this way, Then the first part is to round this little corner out, okay? I use a pencil, and I was thinking you can use this little die right here just to kind of give you a little bit of a contour so that you know you can use a plate, you can use another something that has a little rounded shape to it, and I just sketch it out. I just draw. It's just paper, and we're making a pattern. Doesn't have to be perfect, okay? And then that's my wide of my heart. And then from there, I'm going to kind of just slowly sketch a heart, just like if we were in kindergarten. Don't think too much of it. This is just practice. This is supposed to be fun. Okay? I'm sure that there is a circle somewhere in our life, and I'm going to tell you how big a circle we need here. This is about a 7.5 circle. So if you have a 7.5 bowl, I bet you it'd make a beautiful circle if you had that. Okay? What I love about this is that I can come back, I kind of sketch a little bit around, and then I come back and I remove a little bit of it. You can make your heart as deep as you want, or you can make it not so deep. Okay, so here is my half circle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a ruler, and I'm going to measure the top of my high circle, the top of my heart, and I'm putting a little line on this. Now I have measured the previous hearts, and deep wise you don't want to go any more than 10.5, so you have an inch on each side that you can do your ruffle. So we go from here to 10.5, and this is where the tall of my heart is, and I'm marking a 10.5 mark. So if this is where my heart is going, then this is where it needs to end. So you hold the ruler, and I try to just remove as little as possible. You can bring in your heart and make it skinnier, but I am again trying to use more paper than less paper. Okay, so there is my heart. And then so that you can see better, let's measure before I mark. From here to here, we have 10.5. Now, if you want to make yours shorter and make a bigger ruffle, you can do that. This is where you would be designing where you want to go. So now, so that you can see this, I am putting a Sharpie on the paper. So that you can really see it on camera. I know one time I was looking at something and it was a pencil and I couldn't see what they were sketching. So I always try to go back in a Sharpie so you can really see where or what I am doing here. Okay, so here you have your half, and I have measured it, and I know that it's 10.5 where it's starting and where it's ending. So guess what we do now? Just like if we were in kindergarten, we take our scissors and we are going to cut. And I like to start cutting on the outside of the Sharpie on the marking spot, outside, just like that. Okay, here we go. You see how I'm cutting on the outside? Again, cutting on the outside. Because you can always come back and rearrange, but you cannot glue it back on. And there you have your pattern. And then right here, I like to put little dashes on it because this is our cut line. Because eventually you want to make your heart in cut, okay? Now don't worry so much about how this looks and rounding out the corners. You know, sometimes they look a little bit square, if that makes any sense here. Because you can do it now, or when you have the ruffle, you're not even gonna see this little sharp edge like this, okay? So don't worry so much about this. Okay, so now you have this part, and I want to measure for you so that This is your pattern, and I like when things are measured edge to edge. 7.5 wide is our heart, inches wide. And from the very top here to the very bottom here, we know that our heart, from the very top here to this bottom, we were going for 10.5. Okay. And this one is wide. So that way you know, if you're drawing these out, and you're gonna know what you need to do in the future when you do this, okay? Now, the leftover scraps you still need. So you take these parts. This is the top. Now it's not there anymore, so you don't need this little tape here anymore. This scrap you need. And what you're gonna do here is we draw a line. These are all cut lines. This is where you're gonna cut, and we're going to need 2 1-inch strips. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And here, okay. And then in between, okay, so now you have, these are our cut lines. These are score. So in the middle, this one is a score line, score. And these deep ones here are cut. So what you need here is 2 1-inch strips folded at the half mark, and that is going to become our hinge. So let's show you how we do that. Okay. All these other little pieces I can throw away, and I have it right here on this one, and I'm going to show you how we do that. And then you take this one and you put it in the middle, and you're going to gently score. And you're going to gently score. Okay, and this folds here like this. And this one also folds like this. This is you forming a hinge. This is a hinge system for any of your regular little, if you want to make an extra flap on something, this is all I do. When I say a hinge system, it's just a piece of paper. These I would probably turn into little corners if I had actual paper. And then this one, we're going to cut in half. This is our actual paper that we've already done. Okay, now you have your 2 pieces. And here, what you're going to do, I can maneuver wet glue better. So I like to use wet glue for this. Right there. And then the next one. Now you want to make sure that you're right on the edge of your little heart. And then we're going to cut this piece off. Okay, now this part is going to get glued to your page on the inside. Do you see that? Like this. So your heart is on top. Okay, here's your heart. Here's your hinge system. And then, of course, you can put the hinge right on top of it, on this, or you can hide it to the back. And you glue on the back part. You put this under on the next page. You want to see that you have your heart. You can't see very well with this paper, but you want your heart to be centered on the page, centered from this piece and centered from the top. Okay, just like that. And we'll do that when we do the glue. Okay, so this is how we do our hinge system. And I like to do ruffle around it before I put it on the paper. okay, before I glue it, because then I know where the center of things are, okay? All right, so now you have a technique that you can use over and over on a piece of paper. You can use this over and over. You know that you can do this. I love this as a heart, but since we made this out of a 12-inch heart paper, you can also use it on another piece of paper. I was thinking it would be fabulous. So I thought this would be fabulous on a page one single. You can make this a little bit smaller if you wanted to. And look how fabulous this would be. Let me show you. Okay, you get your heart right here to here. You can move in another 1/4 of an inch, and you're gonna score. Because some of us, don't want to do the same thing over and over, and I'm trying to show you that we're learning techniques, not just one page layout. You want to be able to do this over and over. So we scored it a 1/4 inch away, and now we're going to fold. Then you want to fold the other one. And this is before you have cut your heart. Now, once you've cut your heart, you can't do this technique that I'm showing you right this minute. But how about instead of cutting it, you turn this into a single page layout and you glue this corner right on a 1-page layout. And then you can move your heart up and bring it down, and move your heart this way and put more pictures right there, and you can put, of course, pictures right here. Do you see what I'm saying? This is something that I just love to do as a technique, something super fun that you can use. It's just fun to get a technique and then make it your own. So let's move to adding the ruffles on the edges. So I have my double-sided heavy-duty tape on the backs of my hearts, okay? And then I have 4 strips done. I'm sure I'm gonna need more, but for right now I have 4. And now I'm going to do the yellow. How did I decide to do this? I want the stripes this way and the yellow solid this way. So here, okay? And so that means that this side of the stripe is the one that needs to be double-sided. I use double-sided tape on this part because it takes a lot of glue to keep this down. Okay, and now I slowly am picking up a little bit of this tape. I pull a little bit off. And then I start this right here. So where the tape is, I have my fingernail on it. And then I have this one laying down flat. I need to cross it over to where the point of the heart is so that when I cut it, it still has part of that in there. And then I'm slowly rolling it. I use my pencil method to bring it down. Okay, there's a whole video on how I do this. I use 2 pencils, one to roll it down and one to keep the space for the roll. Okay, so now we're going to do this all the way around, keeping straight with the edge of that tape. And as you're making your curve on your heart, your little rolls, you want them to be a little bit bigger, not so tight on your pencil. You want to give a little bit more space to let that pleat so that it's able to roll with you. And it has room to kind of give a little bit in that curve. you keep turning it. Here is where I start to go around a little bit more and raise up or give a little bit more material for my curve. And so this is what I mean by material. You see, usually I would make it very snug around that pencil, but I'm making it a little bit bigger around the pencil mark so that it has room for it to curve around. Okay, so we have ended up with 3 of these little strips for half of a heart. So now what I like to do is we pleat them down. And these pleats down will help your paper stay nice and flat. So even though you're working with extra paper, you have you still are being able to make this flat. So you have texture but you don't have super fat bulk. I really like that in this also. Isn't that pretty with the little stripes? I knew it would look cute. So now we cut this off just like that. So here is half of our heart. And you can come around and press with your score tool. And it looks just lovely. Love the way that looks. Now we need 2 more of these because we ended up with using 3 of them. So now we need 2 more. Okay, so here we have our hearts. Here we have 4 little hinges, 1 inch by whatever leftover amount I had. And then they're creased in the middle at the 1/2 inch mark. And I did a square on this one, cut it out 1 inch around to make the paper on the reverse a little more interesting. So let's go through it and do this one. I'm taking off 1 inch of the frame of the inner window of this paper. Super easy to do. Quick, fast way to add some excitement to your paper, a little bit different texture when you're really looking for something to do different to your paper, but you don't want to add extra weight or waste another paper underneath. And we take it out and flip it over. And I'm putting just plain old white gift wrapping paper to that spot in the corners to kind of hold my paper in place. I'm sure that I'm going to be adding stuff to those areas, so I'm not too crazy about how I'm going to make it sit. There's going to be more elements on top of this paper. So there we go. Now we have a very slight variation, but I can see it. It's a little bit darker here to this side. My light window is going, but you can kind of see that there. There's a little bit darker here than on this side. And so you kind of have to decide what way you want your paper to be. And your card, your hearts are going to be sit right on top of this. Is this not such a fun page to do maybe for a vacation? So you see how we made our heart smaller so that we have room for a ruffle, but we're not wasting any of the wide of it. Okay, so here is what we have. Now we have our little areas here that we can glue. So what I'd like to do is glue this little piece here, and then you tuck it in to the back of this paper. Okay, so it's gonna sit just like that. Okay, I'm using wet glue because it gives me a little time to maneuver and play with it a little bit. Okay. Super fun, super easy to do. Now you can put it on this outside, but I want to hide it in the back because I don't want to see it when I open up my little page. And now we get another little piece. And I'm going to cut it just the right size, approximately right there, to be able to put it in. I'm putting wet glue on it again. And I can snip just a little piece right here. It's going to be in the part of the little heart. So now my little heart has these little tiny wings that when I put this in, it'll be able to fold over, and we're going to see it on this side, not on the other side of our page. And we hold our page so that it's in the center. Fold that in. Look at that. Now we're doing the same exact thing to this side. Nobody's going to see that. There we go. We've got our heart. Is that not super fun? Okay, so now our heart is inside, and we have our basics. So now what we want to do is put gold on the outside and the lace. So let's work on that. Okay, so we have half of our hearts here made. Okay, so now the next step is to go around it with the gold. And I have 3 golds and 3 little lace strips going around it. Okay. Okay, so here we are working on the heart area. This looks like a big quilt to me. It's just so cute. Summery. So what I did is I mitered these corners, and I kind of wanted to show you what I did for them. Here on this side I have the gold and then a print on top. It's the summery print that looks like Hawaiian paper right here. Okay. And I have this part here glued down a little bit on each side so you can lift these corners. And then what I do is I decide where I want it to sit at. And let's say if I want it to sit right there. Okay, I kind of hold it together. So kind of pinch these together. I have these two here pinched together. Then I have just a plain old cutting mat from my kitchen. And I bring this down and hold it down. And with a cutting knife, a sharp X-Acto knife, I freehand, believe it or not, a little miter cut, just like so. Kind of just barely knowing where I want it to go. And you just go right in and cut. And then it needs to be a couple of times down because it's thick paper. You're going through maybe 4 pieces of paper. So I just cut them. There's one. And I can feel I went through all of it. There we go. And then I take that part off. Then I kind of put some glue on this piece and bring it down to where I want it to sit. And then this one should marry it just perfectly. You see that? Now here I want to kind of round this little corner a little bit, so I'll get it and make a tiny little snip just to make it look more rounded. And then here I add my wet glue so that I can add it and just perfectly marry it to that spot. Maneuver it around a little bit. And then we're going to do the same exact thing to the other side. Hold that one down and let it dry a little bit, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. So you kind of pull this up, slide this in, I kind of just draw where I want to go. There we go. And now the same thing here. You have these tiny little points. Round them out just a little bit so that they look just perfect rounded. And then they'll marry right into each other. That's the easiest way that I have found to miter corners. If you have different tricks, please share. But this is how I put them together. And then they just fit just perfectly because they are cut at the same time. There we go. So now we have our super fun layout here. Pretty easy to do. Super big fun little heart that goes on both sides. There we go. And then if you flip it over, you can see what I've done on the other side. Super easy. We cut that little space out. We put 2 little 1/4 inch and then an inch right there. And that way you can add your extra pictures to that. Super easy, flat layout. Fits in your little pocket. I've been putting this page together. What I did was super easy here. I kind of laid out these little flowers in the areas I wanted to work with. And let me show you where I am on this. Okay, so I like to put my mats out, and I use very easy painter's tape on it, kind of looking to see where I want them to sit at. Okay, you see that? And then later I can put them in when I have a picture or something. I put one of the dies here at the bottom, right here. This is one of my absolute favorite classic Anna Griffin. So I have this one right here at the bottom. And we have these really awesome pages. It's such a fun page. Okay, we have the little heart that flips over. I put more little pages. This can easily be a photo, or it can be a title for you to put your title or your journaling right here. Whichever way you want. It's super easy, super fun. Okay, and so now I'm on the spot of what do I want to put here for the flowers. I kind of lay them out a little bit. I don't want to cover up too much of the green, excuse me, I don't want to cover up too much of the gold. So I have this kind of laying there. And then I was kind of thinking this one would kind of fit into this area also. I have made sure I use double-sided paper so that I don't have the paper sticking out in a different color. So, okay, so I found some pictures. What do you think? So here we have lots and lots of pictures. Look at what I have a spot for journaling. I have 3 big pictures here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pictures, and still on the back, plenty to add more. So I'm super excited that I was able to get that many pictures, and I also kind of snuck in a little tiny spot here that I can add a little bit of journaling. I love to write everybody's name on the side. So super fun little page layout. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Leave me a thumbs up, subscribe for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.